IndiGlobal Media Network.
Now, I would like to call upon Dr. Sujiv Nair, Global Chief Human Resource Officer, RE Sustainability.
Resource Officer, RE Sustainability, is an industry veteran with 29 years of experience in change and transformation at the national and global level. Dr. Nair's journey spans across leadership roles in prominent organizations like Tech Mahindra, DuPont, and Dr. Reddy's, and his significant contribution to the government of Telangana. He is a PhD holder from IIT Hyderabad, a Six Sigma Black Belt, and the former founding CEO of Telangana Academy for Skill and Knowledge, Government of Telangana. In his special address today, Dr. Nair is set to give us a direction on the factors shaping the future of school education. Let us welcome our special guest speaker, Dr. Sujiv Nair.
Morning, everyone. Thank you, Sudhir ji and IndiGlobal for this invite. You know, as Sudhir mentioned, the formative years are very, very essential for children. And I learned that this is very important, though I didn't deal with a lot of schools and children, but I have enough experience working with college children. But I think the foundation that is set in schools are extremely important to create future leaders, as Sudhir mentioned. I have some thoughts to share, but before that, I want to ask you a few questions, okay? And you can answer. If you want to say yes, just raise your hands. No, don't raise your hands. How many of you believe that infrastructure in a country is the biggest asset for that country? When I say infrastructure, it is roads, buildings, infrastructure. How many of you believe? Next question. How many of you believe educated minds is the biggest asset for any country? So my job is easy. Majority of you tend to agree with me. Second question. How many of you today here believe that we have an education crisis in the world, or probably in India? Okay. How many of you believe that there is a learning crisis in the country? Almost same count for both the questions. What's the difference between an education crisis and a learning crisis? Year on year in India, we are seeing the dropout rate from schools improving over the last 3-4 years. So from 30% to 25% to 20% to 18%. So I don't see a big issue with education crisis because dropouts are becoming less and less and less. But even if you look at the 15% dropout rate, whether it is India or any other country, in the next 10 years, this will be 50%, which is very, very concerning. I believe we have a very strong learning crisis. And what I mean by a learning crisis is students are going to school, but are they really learning? Are we looking at the asset of the country as an educated mind or not? And I want to spend some time on how we can address this learning crisis, not only relevant for India, but the whole world. Let me first give you some examples. I meet teachers, I meet lecturers, and I like to have discussions with them. So I go and I met some teachers and I asked them, "How are you, ma'am? How are you, sir?" They said, "We are doing fine." "What are you doing? How are things going on at your place?" "Sir, I'm supervising the lab, the computer lab in our school." "Okay, very good. Ma'am, what are you doing? I just went to the bank to do some bank work, ma'am. Yes. The others, I'm just looking at the food of the children, what is being served. Very nice. I met another person. What are you doing, sir? I'm supervising the toilet constructions in the school. You go and ask a lot of teachers, they will mention this to you. I'm preparing lesson plans. Now, if teachers are doing most of this work, will students learn? In fact, there's nothing wrong in it. Schools are doing well, teachers are doing well. When the inspection comes, these are all the things that the inspectors check. They get good marks. Is that what really we are cut out for? How much time do teachers actually invest in enhancing the learning of students? This is one question I constantly ask and share with many teachers. How much time are you spending teaching the actual content to kids, testing their knowledge, versus the amount of efforts that you're putting to do all other work? I remember when I was studying in school, textbooks had the chapter and there used to be an experiment. I mean, if I just give you an example, an experiment in science, the way I studied reflection, take a torch, put a mirror, put a white paper, press the torch, the light will go and reflect, draw a line, and then they teach you the laws of reflection. Even today, I'm sure there are experiments like this that are there in textbooks. But how many teachers actually spend time in doing these experiments or keeping children excited? As a student in school, I used to love lab. I used to love to go to PT. You know what are the challenges today? Many times, the way teachers teach, I think that's one opportunity that we can really look about. What teaching aids do they use? Do they use conventional methods or they use some creative methods? I know of several teachers who use very innovative learning methods. Such teachers need to be identified and recognized. I think one of the challenges in enhancing the learning crisis is our ability to teach, practical teaching. In some schools, or when I talk to people, they ask, why we don't have infrastructure, sir? Okay, in lower education, right, in elementary, we need, what do you need? We need abacus. We need teaching aids. Trust me, I have traveled across districts, met teachers. There are teachers who just take a lot of things around them, sticks, stones, and use that as teaching aids. Such teachers need to be really identified and recognized. One set on teachers, okay? The point I'm trying to convey is the way we teach makes a big difference to make the learning stick and develop educated minds. Next, let me go to some administrators in school or HODs, whatever you call. When a year starts, many times a goal is set. This year I want to achieve 100% pass. I want 90% of the students to score more than 80% or whatever. I think as educators or HODs, it is very important for us to set goals for every year. Once the goals are set, it's important to analyze what are the challenges that are stopping us from achieving these goals. They could say teaching aids, infrastructure, list down the challenges. And the third and the most important thing, whether it is school, whether it is college, or whether it is a corporate or it is a government, the thing that really makes a difference is aggressive follow-up, review. which is missing big time in our country in most areas. Goals are set, we know what problems are there, finish. There is a minutes or something that is written and it's over. For those administrators or HODs, I think the most important thing is vigorous follow-up on the goal set, on solving the problems. If we look at these two things, the administrators and the teachers, if they come together, just see the amount of learning experience that they can create for the students. And last but not the least, Sudhirji mentioned to me that I should also talk a little about emotional intelligence. I said that's a very big topic, very big topic. But I can teach a very simple game and we'll practice that game here. Okay? And you can take this game back to your schools. You can play it with teachers, with students, and then you see how the emotional intelligence improves, and which is very, very important. Emotional intelligence is all about understanding oneself, regulating oneself. How do I work in team? How do I see the emotions in others during my interactions? That's the crux of emotional intelligence. And the best way to do it is play a game, emotion alphabet game. Okay, we're going to play that game here, and I'm going to have some volunteers. Can anybody sitting here talk to me or share with me one emotion with alphabet S? Anybody? Surprise, okay? Scary? Sorrow? Let's pick one of these three. Okay, and the most often occurring one. But people don't express sorrow, okay? What do you think is the trigger or motivator for this emotion of sorrow? Anyone? Disappointment, yes. What else? What are the triggers for somebody to be sorrow? Expectations, neglected, failure, ignorance. Very interesting, very, very interesting. Now, how do you approach somebody who's in that state of sorrow? How do you approach them? For the reasons that you mentioned, how do you approach? So failure, sir, you said failure. How do you approach anybody who comes to you with that emotion and failure? What do you do, sir? Excellent. I think please give a round for this gentleman. He said, just listen. Just listen. And what is listen? Just listen. Don't talk. Right? That is one way we deal with that emotion of sorrow. There could be multiple triggers. Okay, let's play one more round. Give me another emotion with the alphabet A. Anger. Appreciation. Anxiety. Anxiousness. Let's pick one, the most common, anger. How do you deal with somebody who's very angry? How do you deal with them? Yes, anyone? Lovely. Vamshi says count 5. Don't react. Because what happens when you react? It can become more. Maybe you will get damaged, the other person get damaged, relationships, all these things will happen. Play this game in school, at home, in office. Take alphabets, ask somebody to define an emotion, ask them what is the trigger and how they will. That's how you build emotional intelligence. We should allow our kids, our children to come and express. As teachers, listening is the most important skill. If we are able to do this, we can avert the learning crisis. So I just will summarize saying, teachers use learning aids. Don't go and say, I don't have that infrastructure, I don't have this. See what you have around you. There are so many things. Where there's a will, there's a way. Educators, managements, set goals, review them periodically, because what gets measured gets done. And third, all of us who are in this profession needs to build this emotional intelligence. And if we are able to build it in ourselves, our peers, our colleagues, our students, things will change. So I end with just one statement. All of us who are in this business should be able to give livers to our people. And if you give livers, teachers can shake mountains. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you for the very wonderful exercise, Dr. Sujiv Nair. Moving, can I further call upon Dr. Sujiv Nair, Global Chief Human Resource Officer, RE Sustainability.
IndiGlobal Media Network, taking innovation, collaboration and growth to the forefront.